By the time Derek turned 37, his bank accounts were entirely empty. Instead of the financial independence he'd been working toward, he was staring down $22,000 in credit card debt and a completely destroyed real estate track record. He didn't lose his money at a casino, and he didn't blow it on luxury cars or expensive vacations. Derek went bankrupt by perfectly executing the most famous piece of financial advice of his generation. He built his entire strategy around the core philosophy laid out by Robert Kiyosaki in the cultural juggernaut, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is a framework praised for creating generational wealth. But when applied by an average middle-class investor, the exact same steps can systematically guarantee their financial collapse. When Derek was 31, he made meticulous notes on the book's core premise. Borrow money to buy an asset, let that asset generate income, use the income to pay the debt, and keep the difference. The tenant, not the owner, pays the bank. The appeal is incredibly powerful. It offers a way to bypass 30 years of slow saving and hoping a retirement account survives the next market crash. Instead, you get real assets and real leverage right now. Fully convinced, Derek took the $38,000 he had carefully saved over 6 years and used every single penny of it to put a down payment on a 2-bedroom rental property. But his execution contained a hidden fracture. He used everything he had to get into the deal, leaving himself with absolutely zero liquid cash reserves left over. The day he officially called himself a real estate investor was the same day he finalized a financial structure so fragile that even the slightest bit of everyday friction would shatter it. Kiyosaki didn't invent this concept. Borrowing to acquire income-producing assets instead of consuming is how institutional commercial real estate firms actually operate. At a 4% rate, an all-cash property yields a 2.4% return. By borrowing, that identical income jumps to a 12% return. But if it loses its tenant, the mechanism aggressively reverses, dragging your returns deep into the negative. This is leverage at its most basic level. It is a strictly neutral mathematical force. It amplifies your losses with the exact same ruthless efficiency that it amplifies your gains. Derek learned this firsthand. After acquiring a second property, both units sat vacant for 11 weeks. During that exact window, a heating unit failed, demanding an immediate $6,200 replacement. A broken boiler and an empty unit are completely ordinary events for an experienced landlord. But when operating highly leveraged assets with zero cash cushion, those routine expenses instantly mutate into catastrophic financial emergencies. The math gets even more unforgiving today. The mental model many built from Kiyosaki's work relied on the historically cheap 3 to 4% interest rates of the past, not the punishing 7 to 8% rates seen today. This split screen breaks down the exact difference. At 4%, a $160,000 mortgage cost about $764 a month. At 7.8%, that exact same mortgage spikes to $1,152 a month. Rent has not doubled in that time, and maintenance costs certainly haven't stayed flat. That elevated cost of debt effectively erodes the thin monthly profit margin you need to survive periods where the property sits empty or needs repairs. For the modern middle-class investor, the original math is largely broken. When the cost to borrow the money consistently outweighs the yield produced by the asset, leverage stops being a tool and becomes a trap. Let's track two 32-year-old investors, Nathan and Yvonne. They both start with exactly $80,000 in savings. Nathan uses the real estate framework, draining his $80,000 to buy 2 properties. He spends the next decade operating with zero margin for error, enduring the immense stress of tenant vacancies and carrying emergency credit card debt to fix broken appliances. After 10 years of active management, he holds roughly $257,000 in equity. Yvonne takes her $80,000 and places it in a broad index fund, adding a portion of her salary each month. She handles zero maintenance calls and manages no tenants. After 10 years of historically conservative returns, she has approximately $295,000 in completely liquid cash. The final numbers look very similar on paper. But the impressive equity position in real estate frequently hides the massive, exhausting psychological and operational toll exacted on the person holding the mortgage. The leveraged framework does work, but only if you meet the hidden prerequisites. Before you buy the first property, you need 6 to 12 months of full carrying costs sitting in untouchable liquid cash, completely separate from your down payment. You also need a primary income stable enough to absorb a full year of losses. If you are forced into an emergency sale during a bad year, you will almost never make a profit. If you lack those safety nets, you aren't using good debt. You are taking on massive liabilities attached to nothing but blind optimism. And as Derek found out the hard way, optimism cannot function as a financial reserve fund when the inevitable friction of reality finally arrives.